The story begins with Brendan, a video game designer, explaining how scientists use rats in mazes to study how organisms use memory to learn, adapt, and evolve by creating internal maps of their world. Brendan often reads such studies, as he applies these principles when designing his games. He believes that without memory, humanity would never progress. One day, Brendan goes to the beach with his wife Claire and their young daughter Sam. The family enjoys a beautiful day together, full of laughter and peace. After a short nap, Sam decides to collect seashells with her favorite Curious George toy, promising not to go into the water. However, as she plays, the waves carry away the toy. Trying to retrieve it, Sam steps into the water, but the current is too strong, and tragically, she never makes it back. The loss devastates the family. Despite the community's support during the funeral, Brendan and Claire remain heartbroken. Claire struggles to accept the reality of her daughter's death, while Brendan spends his days in Sam's room, overcome with grief. Months later, Claire decides it's time to move on and begins packing Sam's belongings. Brendan, still in denial, panics and begs her to put everything back as it was. While holding Sam's favorite books, he notices something strange. The title Berenstain Bears is spelled with an A, although he clearly remembers it being spelled with an E. That night, unable to sleep, Brendan hears noises and, armed with a bat, goes to investigate, only to find his brother-in-law Matt raiding the fridge. The two share a late-night snack and talk about the book. To Brendan's surprise, Matt also remembers it being spelled with an E. Intrigued, Brendan researches the mystery online and discovers thousands of others with the same memory. They call it the Mandela Effect, a phenomenon where large groups of people share false memories. Some attribute it to alternate timelines or parallel universes. Name comes from the fact that many people once remembered Nelson Mandela dying in prison, even though he didn't. The next morning, while Claire gets ready for work, Brendan notices a family photo on the refrigerator showing them at the Griffith Observatory. But Brendan distinctly remembers taking that photo at the Pacific Science Center. Claire dismisses it as confusion. Brendan later shares his findings with Matt, citing examples like Mandela's supposed death, Darth Vader's misquoted line, and the Looney Tunes spelling. He becomes convinced that reality itself is shifting, that they are somehow moving between parallel universes or living in a simulation. Matt laughs it off, but Brendan dives deeper into his obsession, watching documentaries about string theory, alternate realities, and the idea that life might be part of a computer simulation. His notebooks fill up with theories, a distraction from his unbearable grief. Seeking spiritual comfort, Brendan visits a priest and asks why God would take a child's life. The priest tells him it wasn't part of any divine plan, just the result of free will, humanity's greatest gift. When Brendan returns home, this sparks a new branch of his obsession, researching free will and determinism. He meets Matt again, who tells him his neurologist friend claims false memories come from the brain's imperfections, gaps filled by external information. Brendan refuses to believe it's that simple. During dinner, Claire worries about Brendan's behavior, urging him to talk about what's bothering him. Instead, he asks her to describe the Monopoly man. Claire says he has a monocle, but when she checks the box, he doesn't. Brendan shows her Sam's Curious George book, insisting the monkey used to have a tail. Claire, furious that he's using their daughter's death for his theories, accuses him of hiding from reality instead of healing. The argument leaves their relationship strained. A few days later, Brendan and Claire go on a double date with Matt and his boyfriend. Brendan is distracted and withdrawn, barely engaging. Matt reminds him that he and Claire need to support each other, so Brendan reluctantly returns to the table. But as soon as they get home, he goes back to researching simulation theory. His notes multiply, and he covers his office wall with diagrams and strings of connections, searching for proof of another universe where Sam might still be alive. He watches interviews with Elon Musk and Neil deGrasse Tyson, who discuss simulation theory, and stumbles upon the name Dr. Roland Fuchs, a scientist working to prove the simulation's existence. The video Brendan finds is corrupted, but using special software, he restores part of it. Dr. Fuchs' lecture plays briefly before glitching again. Determined, Brendan tracks Fuchs' location and sends him a desperate video message, but gets no reply. He eventually travels to the university to meet him in person. Fuchs dismisses him as just another conspiracy theorist, too busy for such talk. That night, Brendan tries to reconnect with Claire, but stops mid-intimacy when he hears Sam's voice calling him. Frustrated, Claire insists he see a grief counselor. The next day, instead of going to therapy, Brendan visits Fuchs at his home and convinces him to listen. Fuchs admits that while the Mandela Effect is typically explained as false memory, he personally believes it could be evidence of glitches in a simulated reality, breadcrumbs left after a system update. Brendan, inspired, suggests that if reality is computer code, it can be hacked. Fuchs laughs at the idea, saying it's impossible, but agrees to show him the university's quantum computer. On the way, they discuss the concept that reality exists only when observed, just like in video games, where environments render only when the player enters them. Brendan proposes overloading the simulation's processor to reveal its true nature, and Fuchs hints that such a powerful machine could exist there. But before they can proceed, another scientist, Dr. Manning, interrupts and forces them out. Back at Fuchs' home, the professor warns Brendan that the simulation might be aware of them, that it could be trying to stop them. He calls himself a bug in the system, and warns Brendan that ideas can be dangerous. That night, Brendan dreams of Sam's drowning again. He wakes up suddenly, hearing her voice echo through the house. Rushing to her room, he sees a dark human-like shadow flicker and glitch before vanishing. Shaken, he gets into his car for a drive, but the world around him no longer looks real. The streetlights, trees, and sky all seem to dissolve into strings of luminous code, an infinite web of data connected to a quantum computer that holds the truth of everything. Eventually, Brendan falls asleep in his car and wakes up in a random alley downtown. Suddenly, a horrible high-pitched noise fills his ears, and he screams in pain as the world around him begins to glitch and distort. Then, in an instant, he blinks and wakes up in his own bed as if nothing happened. Confused, he leaves the room and is shocked to find his daughter Sam alive and sitting in her room, with Claire gently urging her toward the bathroom. But when he tries to follow them, he only finds Claire alone, brushing her teeth. Terrified that he's losing his mind, Brendan breaks down, and Claire does her best to comfort him. Desperate for answers, Brendan goes to the library and borrows several books on quantum computing. He becomes obsessed with developing a code capable of overloading the simulation he believes they live in. Over the next few days, he isolates himself, working day and night on his computer, worrying Claire deeply. Then, one night, Sam appears in their bedroom, frightened by a nightmare, and crawls into bed with them. Brendan finally sleeps peacefully beside her, but when he wakes up, the bed is empty. Thinking it was just another dream, he goes downstairs, only to see Sam alive and well, as if she had never died. Even more confusingly, Claire and Matt treat her like nothing unusual has happened. Brendan calls everyone he knows, but no one remembers Sam's death. Reality itself has been rewritten. When Brendan tries to contact Dr. Fuchs to make sense of it all, the scientist doesn't answer. Brendan concludes that the simulation has restored Sam's life to distract him from completing his code, but he doesn't care. Sam is back, and that's all that matters. For a while, the family enjoys a blissful return to normalcy. But one night, Claire wakes from a terrible nightmare, trembling and disoriented. Though she insists she's fine, the next morning Brendan finds the kitchen filled with smoke from burning breakfast, and Claire staring blankly into space. Hoping to lift her spirits, Brendan takes the family out to a pottery studio. As they paint, he notices cracks spreading across his clay pot, and Claire suddenly becomes aggressive, smashing pottery and yelling over paint colors. Shocked and frightened, Brendan brings her home, trying to calm her down, but she keeps staring at Sam in horror, whispering that the girl shouldn't be there. Realizing the new reality might be making Claire ill, Brendan asks Matt to babysit Sam while he visits Dr. Fuchs' house. There, he's stunned to learn from Fuchs' wife that the scientist took his own life 2 months earlier, despite Brendan having met him just days ago. A crack appears on the nearby glass window, which Brendan interprets as another glitch, a sign from the simulation itself. Determined to fix things, he rushes home and resumes work on his code, recording a final message for his family in case the simulation deletes him like it did Fuchs. While Brendan works, Matt takes care of Claire, who has now become completely catatonic. When the code is finally ready, Brendan sneaks into the university lab to access the quantum computer, but Dr. Manning catches him and tries to call security. In a panic, Brendan pushes him away too forcefully. Manning hits his head on the floor and dies instantly. Horrified by what he's done, Brendan grabs Manning's keycard and continues toward the computer. He uploads the code using a USB drive, watching the data stream across the monitor as the machine's lights flicker wildly. The quantum computer begins to hum with strange sounds, so Brendan runs outside, only to find the parking lot empty and his car gone. In the blink of an eye, he's suddenly on a bus. Claire calls him, saying she feels unwell. As Brendan listens, he notices passengers glitching, their faces flickering, one woman sinking through the bus floor. Panic grips him as he sees more people glitching, their forms warping and vanishing. He jumps off the bus and runs through the city, witnessing chaos everywhere. The sky shifts between night and day in seconds, trees change colors, and two moons hang overhead. Racing home, Brendan finds Claire and Sam and holds them close as their surroundings distort violently. The walls flicker, the air buzzes, and Claire's face glitches before she screams in agony. The two moons collide in the sky, and everything goes dark. Then, lines of code appear, showing the universe rebooting from the very beginning of existence. Through the Big Bang, the age of dinosaurs, lost civilizations, wars, and the entire history of humanity. When the reboot completes, Brendan finds himself back on the beach with Claire and Sam, just as before. This time, when Sam says she's going to look for shells, Brendan stops her and makes her leave her Curious George toy behind, saving her life. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more.